at least I think they. In light of recent events, I have decided I'm quitting YouTube. I really want to say so. No, I'm just kidding. We are going to be checking out a Jordan Peterson video and two other videos. But in light of recent events, I decided that I wanted to tackle a topic which is the rise before the fall and the eventual fall, and exactly what that means, at least to me. I'm sure this will be interpreted different based on who you ask, and probably your own interpretation will be slightly different to mine, or radically different, depending on where you come from, who you are. But the concept of the fall is basically, or the rise and fall, is that you have this eventual meteoric rise. You know, you're climbing, you reach the top, and eventually you're gonna fall. And the question is, how do you fall? Who or what causes it? A lot of the times it's pride, but in some interpretations for people, it'll be the actions of others. It'll be, it could be chance that makes you fall. The stock market crashes, you know. It could be a lot of things that eventually forces you to crash. Now, it's not about what happens when you crash necessarily, but how you react to that crash, because it comes sometimes in smaller waves for people. Some people never fall all the way to the bottom, but they do come across hurdles. And so we're seeing that for our boy Asmongold right now, who has lost damn near every company and deal he's had, which is interesting. But I think there are positives, even for him. He's a multimillionaire, and I think the lack of stress, considering how little he spends, will actually be beneficial in the long run. But enough about him. It's not a video about that situation. Formative. Let's get into it. I think Jordan Peterson's perfect person to start with. Titled Pride Comes Before Fall. This is a very old lecture speech.
Well, I don't see anything arbitrary about that. And part of it, and this is also why I think that bloody postmodernists are so incorrect, because, you know, they say something like, there's an infinite number of interpretations of the world, and that's actually true. But then they make a mistake, and they say, well, no interpretation is to be privileged over any other interpretation. It's like, wrong. Wrong. That's where things go seriously off the rails, because the interpretation has to be, and this is the Piagetian objection, is like, if you and I are going to play a game, rule one is we both have to want to play. Rule two is other people are going to let us play. Rule three is we should be able to play it across a pretty long period of time without it degenerating. And maybe rule four is, while we're playing, the world shouldn't kill us. It's like there are not very many games, like you don't send your kids out to play on the superhighway, right? So they're not playing hockey on the superhighway because the world kills them. And so there's an infinite number of interpretations, but there is not an infinite number of solutions. And the solutions are constrained by the fact of the world and our suffering in the world, and then also constrained by the fact that we constrain each other. And so that's where I think that's gone like dreadfully,
Fixing
dreadfully
my mic
wrong.
stand,
So,
it keeps leaning these days. Man, I love Jordan
It's
Peterson.
really fun to look
He's
at
such
these
a
old
goat.
pictures once you kind of know what they mean. You know, at least that's what I've discovered, is that once I kind of understand the...
For those of you that don't know, I've done like one other Jordan Peterson video, but he is honestly the motivation for my life. Like, he's one of the few people I get emotional just thinking about. He's a really big influence for me. Yeah, he kind of taught me. I don't know him personally, but I grew up without a father. Yeah, shocker. Yeah, thanks, guys. I grew up without a father. I remember I was lost in a way. You know, I found interest in politics and philosophy and everything around middle to high school, going into high school. Came across Jordan Peterson, and he really helped stabilize who I would want to become. I'm not there yet, but he taught me the power of self-control, and also helped me understand the worst parts of myself are not going to go away. I have intense anger. I control it now way better, but I understand that anger can be a tool. It creates a passion in me. Most of my videos are made because something annoys me, you know what I mean? And a lot of people agree, sometimes you don't. It's whatever, but I have the courage to speak about my opinion, and that counts for a lot. And, Jordan Peterson, he he definitely helped keep me like on the straight and narrow, you know. And I really hated for the longest time how the media treated him. I think it's way better now. At least I think they have too many things to focus on. But when he was rising, that really hurt me, man, because there was never a lesson of hate towards groups of people like they made it seem. It was just not the message he gave to young men. It was a message that women couldn't give, and absent fathers obviously couldn't give, and a bunch of men needed to hear. And I hope he's doing fine now. I follow him on Instagram. You know, he's a great person. I love all of his work. That's just some background. I'm hyper biased. I respect everything he says, even when I disagree. Religion, for example, I'm not religious at all, but I'll still listen to what he says. I respect everything he says because kind of deserves it, you know. But let's just continue. Just wanted to give some background.
I mean, someone worked hard on that. That's an engraving, right? They took a long time making that picture. They're serious about it. And when you understand what it means, you know, all those people, they're prostrate at the revelation of the law. It's like, well, no wonder. It's like, break the law and see what happens. Break the universal moral law, man, and see what happens. You know, I see people in that situation, well, as you all do all the time, perhaps me more than you because I'm a clinical psychologist, you know, and if the people I'm seeing haven't broken the universal law, then you can bloody well be sure that people around them have. It's no joke. Like, you make a mistake and things will go seriously wrong for you. And so it's no wonder that you'd be terrified at the revelation of the structure that governs our being. One of the things that's so remarkable about the Old Testament, this is another thing Nietzsche commented on. He was a real admirer of the Old Testament, not so much of the New Testament. He thought it was a sin for Europe to have glued the New Testament onto the Old Testament, because he thought the Old Testament was a really accurate representation of the phenomenology of being. It's like, stay awake, speak properly, be honest, or watch the hell out, because things will come your way that you just do not want to see at all. And it might not just be you, it might be everyone you know and everything about.
It's been years since I've read the Bible. From my understanding of the Old Testament, it was a lot more brutal, a lot more aggressive.
Culture that is demolished for generation after generation. It's like, stay awake and be careful. And I think that people only don't believe that when they're being hubristic. And I think that most people know that deep in their hearts. You know, when you get high on your horse, that happens fairly often. If you have any sense, you think, geez, I better be careful and tap myself down a fair bit, because if I get too puffed up, man, something's going to come along and take me out at the knees.
Yep.
And everyone knows that. Pride comes before a fall. It's like, if you have any, that's why it says in the Old Testament that fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. It's like, I have never, in all my years as a clinical psychologist, and this is something that really does terrify me, I have never seen anyone ever get away with anything at all, even once. You know, there's that old idea that God has a book, you know, and keeps track of everything.
It's super interesting. That's kind of the point that we were talking about earlier, or I was. Okay, we're having a conversation right now. That fall is coming, and it's about how far are you falling, or how you're going to react to it. And you can fall onto a nice fucking lily pad, or you can fall onto concrete. It's really your choice. The interesting thing about this is that he said that he's never seen anyone get away with anything, which is probably true in his case, especially as a clinical psychologist, because even if it's not an outward effect, the person may be struggling internally, or maybe something else in their life going super wrong that they may feel like they're being punished for doing said wrong thing. I don't believe in karma, really. I don't believe in any of that. I do believe if you do enough bad things, you are going to create enemies, obviously, and you might get paid back that way. So you do have to be very careful about how many enemies you have. But sometimes I think it's worth taking the risk of plenty of enemies if you are doing the correct thing, the right thing, speaking truth, that sort of thing. Super interesting. I think pride leads to the fall because you stop looking at things rationally in terms of your own mortality. You forget that you're mortal in a sense, right? You forget that everything that affects everyone else can also affect you. Your mistakes can have a consequence. Let's say you get away with robbery 3 times, right? You start thinking, I don't think I'm ever gonna get caught, right? And you keep doing it. Now you get away with it 6th time. You're gonna start getting complacent, you're gonna start getting lazy. And we see this, I think, most with serial killers, actually, where a lot of the hardest to catch serial killers, they got lazy or they got super cocky and they just made a mistake that they would have earlier on, then they get caught. So that pride is what leads to them getting caught and their eventual fall. Thank God, right? But for a normal person, you want to avoid that pride. So that fall hopefully never comes in a drastic way.
In heaven, it's like, okay, you know, maybe it's not a book. Fine. But that is a really useful thing to think about because, well, maybe you disagree. Maybe you think people get away with things all the time. I tell you, I've never seen it. What I see instead is that thing happens, right? Someone twists the fabric of reality. And they do it successfully because it doesn't snap back at them that moment. And then like 2 years later, something unravels and they get walloped and they think, oh my God, that's so unfair. And then we track it. It's like, well, what happened before that? This. Well, and then what? This. And then what? This. And then what? Oh.
I've been watching a lot of stuff about like crime and prison sentences recently. And that's absolutely the case in a lot of criminal cases. It's like, well, I did this thing. Then it led to this thing. Then it led to this thing. Now I'm fucked. Now I'm doing fucking 40 years in prison. It's like
well, that's
chain
where
reaction.
It went wrong. It's because you can't twist the fabric of reality without having it snap back. It doesn't work that way, and why would it? Because what are you going to do? Twist the fabric of reality? I don't think so.
Cause and effect, right?
I think it's bigger than you. You know, and I think that one of the things that really tempts people is the idea that, well, I can get away with it. It's like, yeah, you try. You see how well that works. It's like you get away with nothing. And that is the beginning of wisdom.
Oh,
and it's something
yeah.
that deeply
Jordan Peterson, I've gotten away with plenty.
It terrifies me. And you know, ever
I've gotten away
last September
with
when
plenty.
I came to more like broader public attention, one of the things I've been terrified of making a mistake because I certainly know I'm more than capable of making a mistake. And thank God so far either I haven't made one or no one's found out about it. So, but it's like, you know, we walk on a very thin and narrow edge. And we're very lucky when things aren't degenerating into chaos around us or rapidly moving to far too much order. And it's not an easy thing to stay on that line. And you can tell when you're on that line because the things are deeply meaningful and engaging when you're on that line. But if you're not existentially terrified about the consequences of wavering off that, then you are truly not awake. So, and that's what I see in this picture. You know, it's like, look out, man. Because there are rules. And if you break them, God help you.
Yep, that's basically it, though. That's the pride version, right, of that fall, where you sort of start losing your sense of mortality. You start losing that sense of you have limits and what those limits are. You start thinking you're too far above everyone. But I also think there's a balance you need to keep in recognizing that there are people you're better than. There will always be people better than you in multiple different facets of life. And recognizing that is super important. So the rise before the fall. I also always think about this scene from Peaky Blinders, when you get to the top. Because let's say I keep up with this and I make it somewhere. How will that fall hit me? Who's gonna be coming for my throne? You know, I said I wasn't gonna talk about it too much, but Asmongold fell. So who's coming after that throne, right? I say he fell because he straight up apologized. There's really no coming back from that. You lose the support of people who agree with you, and people who disagree with you are never coming over to begin with. Regardless of how you feel about that situation, I think we can all agree that he just opened up the floodgates for someone taking that spot, right? Guess what? You have thousands of fans that just lost the main streamer they watch. Floodgates open, right? They need more content. That's how entertainment business goes. So this is what I think of when I think of that situation.
Empty chair. Either my chair, my throne. People think that I'm gonna fall. They start behaving in a different way around you.
Who thinks that?
It starts a circle. Who's gonna take the throne, eh? Linda, she wants some for Arthur. How about all my gold people in the north? Michael.
I remember that time we were slipping on.
All right, we got time for the shitty music. But you guys get what I'm saying. If you haven't watched Peaky Blinders, you fucking need to. It's fucking amazing. Basically, Thomas here, he's made it to a really good place in society. I won't say too many spoilers, but he's saying he feels like somebody's coming after his throne. Like the walls are closing in. He can feel something's off. People aren't listening to him. He lists off all these people that want a piece of his pie. A lot of them are family. So it's one of those things where, like, you make it to a certain place, there are going to be people clawing at your golden throne. People want that gold. They will tear your throne apart in order to get it, right? They would rather nobody have that throne than you. It's jealousy, it's envy, it's passion, unfortunately. A lot of our worst traits come in tandem with our best traits, right? And some people really fucking hated Zach, for example. I'm just gonna keep using him, I guess. But that's basically what the sort of people coming for your throne deliberately because they want it sort of situation, which is still gonna lead to a fall if you're not on your toes. And that's why, well, you're being pressed by people and you're being told to apologize for things you shouldn't apologize for. You do not apologize, and you have to show that you are strong regardless of what you lose in terms of deals, because you're not getting them back. You're not getting any of that shit back by apologizing. So by showing that weakness, what you do is you alienate two sides when one side would have easily embraced you for speaking truth and being who you are. When you alienate both of those, you free fall. There's no one to catch you. So that's the unfortunate reality. And then we have the beautiful story of Icarus, of course.
Do you know the tragic story of Icarus's giant wings from Greek mythology? Icarus, a young man, and his father Daedalus were imprisoned in his own invention, the labyrinth, for defying King Minos. They were freed by Daedalus's wife, but still needed to plan their escape from the island of Crete. Daedalus determined the only way to escape would be by flight, so he built a set of wings for him and his son. He used wax to attach real bird feathers onto a wooden skeleton. Daedalus told Icarus there were two rules to ensure his survival. The first was that he could not fly so low over the water that the wings would get wet, and the second was that he couldn't fly too high because the sun would melt the wax on the feathers. So they flew smoothly for a while, but the longer they flew, the more bored Icarus became with the constant flapping and flying straight. So he started flying lower and then higher to make the journey more exciting. He felt invincible, but before long he flew too high and too close to the sun. So the wax melted, and just as his father warned him, he fell and tragically died, screaming, "Father," on the way down. Do you know the
There you go. I think that's the perfect one to end it on. Icarus, the classic story of the rise and fall. When you go too close to the sun, you fall. I think the more successful you become in life, the higher the chances of your fall, and the further down you'll fall, the higher you go. You know, if you don't really have anything, you fall. It's whatever. You're falling from the sidewalk to the falling from the curb to the street. Jesus. You're falling from the curb to the street when you have nothing. But the higher up you go, eventually you'll be on a tower. And eventually a skyscraper. Maybe the moon, you know? It depends on how high up you want to take that analogy. And eventually you will fall. And that fall, if you don't catch on it, if you don't catch anything, no one catches you, you're dead, right? So I hope I covered the rise and the fall adequately. I like kind of thought, I don't know, experiments, or just I don't know how to explain it. I like thinking about this sort of shit and how it kind of relates to shit we're seeing going on in our culture, in our everyday lives. Have I had a fall? Plenty. But I just I went from the curb to the street, so nothing insane. Hopefully never. And yeah, I hope that you guys think about it. This is a big thing I think about when I do commentary on stuff like the Asmongold situation. Well, I talk about the LGBT and all this stuff. And how I disagree with how they treat children and that kind of thing. When I talk about games and gaming companies, when I talk about DEI and how that hurts the black community and all the shit I do, it absolutely threatens my future in some which way. Due to the fact I'm speaking about topics that are seen as taboo and that you shouldn't cover. But I absolutely live by the idea that no matter what, I should speak my mind. And I should be allowed to think for myself. And I may be wrong sometimes, but when it comes to morality, I think I have a pretty fucking solid foundation on morality. So if you have a disagreement with any of the stuff I ever say when it comes to morality, you need a pretty fucking convincing argument. That's the hardest thing to shift for people. When I speak about like Palestine, Gaza, Israel, all that stuff, it is most likely building up to an eventual fall if I continue down a consecration path. Even if I don't, less likely. I mean, I don't have insane amount of subs and views. I doubt this would find me if I'm fucking, I don't know, a coal miner. But it just... it's a risk I'm willing to take, and I don't think it would lead to a fall. For me, I think the best way to come back from a fall... I'm gonna just keep using the asthma situation. It's fresh on my mind. I literally just made a different video and uploaded about the situation. I didn't want this to be about it, and I'm not gonna title it about it. For those of you that don't know, it's a streamer who said he doesn't care what's happening across the planet, and people got upset. He doesn't care about people being bombed by a country they attacked. Right? It's that kind of thing. How I would handle a fall in that kind of like depth where everyone starts turning their back on me in terms of companies and some friends and everything, by taking my words and twisting them to mean something that I know in my heart I did not mean that way, and that any logical person could see. Oh, I'm going crazy. You better hope I don't have dirt on this company. You better hope I don't start just talking trash. Man, I'm going out. I'm taking everyone with me. Nah, but realistically, I just look at that and say, you don't fall with grace and let it happen and apologize. What you do is you dig your fucking heels in. You don't let that gust of wind push you off your fucking tower. You say, you know what? Fuck you, Twitch. You want to ban me? Guess what? I'm going to YouTube where I would make them millions more dollars. They won't kick me for saying I don't care about a conflict countries away where I said I don't care. They would do the same thing. I'm going to go to this platform and keep making my bread because I already make millions doing YouTube a year. So that's how I would have seen it. It's like, yeah, you're losing a lot of money. He doesn't live in a fancy house. He doesn't have a shit ton of fancy cars from what he's told us and for what I've seen. So where's his money going? He's going to be fine. I'm sure his dad's taken care of. You don't need that many millions to take care of yourself. His house should be paid off. His car should be paid off by now, right? Really, it would just be monthly bills, which his YouTube revenue alone makes. For me, I wouldn't even sweat it. I'd be like, wow, I got a vacation from all these businesses. Start a new business you think you've thought about creating all this time. Put all that extra time into something new. Maybe stream more if that's what you genuinely enjoy. Maybe take more vacations during that time you would have been streaming. Take some vacations. Go have fun. You have one life. I think a lot of that is an issue with who he is. He doesn't go outside, and I think that's mentally just fucked for you as a human being, right? But I want you guys to think about the fall like that. If you've already made it and you fall, it's really like if you live modestly, you never really have to worry after you've made a couple of $1 million. If you're living modestly, you'll be fine. I always say don't let the fall happen without a fight. Fucking fight it, and don't keel over and give up. It's never worth giving up. Shit, if Dr. Disrespect can continue on, bro, like, I don't know who else. I don't know what y'all did, bro, but as long as it's not with, you know, kids, you should be fine to continue on and figure something out. Just be better, and yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is a little different. I'll try to do more stuff like this, and I'll have like an actual format and everything. I just wanted to test it out, see what happens, see what kind of views it gets. If it gets at least 100, I'd be happy. And yeah, later.